could really throw that on thick if you wanted to. Hey, Varen.
Yeah.
What have you done for me lately?
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back for the third episode of What Have You Done For Me Lately? This is my buddy Zach, and you can call me your buddy Tim.
This is my buddy Tim. What's up?
Today we're going to talk about the Proclaimers. I am confident that the Proclaimers are off your radar. So you may be asking yourself, what in the world have the Proclaimers done other than...
Was it 500 miles, but what's it actually called?
I'm Gonna Be.
I'm Gonna Be. Yeah.
So I'm Gonna Be, parentheses, 500 miles.
Okay, cool.
But I would walk 500 miles and I would walk 500 more just to be the man who walks 1,000 miles before the last.
I definitely remember them playing the song on every show that existed, but Arsenio was a big one for me. Like, I very specifically remember them singing on Arsenio.
Performing their top 10 smash. I'm gonna be 500 miles from their CD, Sunshine on Leith. Please give it up for Charlie and Craig Reed, Scotland's hottest twin brothers, better known as the Proclaimers!
Clearly a one-hit wonder.
Right.
For most of the world. A couple of Scottish brothers. So in Scotland, they're still huge. Most of Europe, I would say, still is paying attention relatively to what the Proclaimers are doing. Just so darn catchy.
Now, what year was I'm Gonna Be?
So Benny and June soundtrack selection, whoever picks said, let's put this song on it. And that's what made it huge in the U.S. That was 1993.
Okay.
But that song, I'm Gonna Be, had been out at least 5 years already at that point. So the person was fond of it, and they said, hey, let's use this in our movie.
Wait, so it was 5 years old?
Yeah. So they made the song in 88 on their own album. And then 5 years later, 1993, somebody said, let's use this on the Benny and June soundtrack.
Benny and June, okay.
And then it got huge.
Okay.
But yeah, they had been playing it for 5 years.
Now, did they have any other things that came out in between, like, or was this old music for them? Or?
So that album that it was on was 1988, and then their next album didn't come out until a year after Benny and June.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know if their newfound popularity made them keep going or what, but after that, I think it was more, consistent that they were putting albums out, but there was a pretty big gap between those two. And I have those two albums. They're the only Proclaimers albums I have. Sunshine on Leith.
While the chief with sunshine on Leith
Was the one that had I'm Gonna Be, and then Hit the Highway was the one that came out after that.
You do it my way, or you can hit the highway.
So those are my two Proclaimers albums, which is two more Proclaimers albums than most of the United States probably has.
Do you think it's fair to say Buddy Holly? Just.
Oh yeah.
Is that fair?
We'll definitely draw a connection with the look, the glasses and the skinny guy and the.
I don't know. It's a little convenient to say that, but
sure.
Why not? You know.
Oh, Peggy, my Peggy.
They have been releasing albums fairly consistently every 2 to 3 years for the last 2 decades. And before that, it was maybe 6 or 7 year gaps between. For me, I love the Proclaimers. They have fallen off my radar, even though I do have 2 of their albums. But they do have this knack for writing really catchy songs, as indicated by I'm Gonna Be. But it's not just that one. It wasn't a fluke. They write incredibly catchy songs. It's just that nothing has ever quite taken off in the way that did. The blending of their voices, being, genetic twins, not just brothers, because a lot of times you can say, like with the Avits or something, like their voices blend well because they're brothers.
We can wish upon it all. We won't share the wish we made.
Their voices blend well because they're twins.
Okay.
So just amazing when they harmonize, when they go back and forth, and all that. I just love their voices. So, what were you doing when Proclaimers took over the world?
Okay, so 93, is that
Yep.
right? So I would have been 7 years old.
Nice.
I remember this is one of the songs where, like, I was mostly listening to, like, Michael W. Smith.
I will be here for you.
And, DC Talk, I think they're right in that area.
Sure.
That's just because of what I was allowed to listen to, as we've covered before. So this was one that kind of snuck through, and I didn't even have to make a case for it. I would have
Yeah.
to make a case with my father of why I could listen to secular music. With this one, I think it just kind of slipped through the cracks. So, but I remember, like, the earworm took hold. I was like, as a 7-year-old, I was like, put on the,
Da-da-da-da.
yeah. I was like, hey, Anna, put on the 500 miles, because I think she already knew about it. I think she would have been like 13 at the time, so this was a big hit for her. But it wasn't. I remember it was like 93. It wasn't the 88 version. Like, the fans that got there first must be like really like, I was telling you this 5 years ago. But yeah, so that's where it came in for me, and then I remember liking that song right away, but I never really followed up. Like, at the time, I didn't really have you'd have to buy a CD to follow up. I wasn't gonna convince my dad after one song. I wasn't like,
Yeah.
but I did like the song a whole lot. It's interesting because you can hear in their voices their accents come through,
Yeah,
which
and
is not regular.
Yeah, I definitely think that had an appeal when 500 Miles came out, and it's just cute and fun to hear these guys sing Wina Heva. This is their 11th studio album called Angry Cyclist. This is from 2018.
Can I feel this year I've been kissed? By the aura of an angry cyclist.
It's got a lot of, just the music hooks you, but to me the lyrics were really introspective, a lot of current event type stuff. Angry Cyclist itself is pretty critical, politics, social issues.
What do you think it means, angry cyclist?
I don't know. It's a weird sort of reference, but I know the lyric that jumped out at me it said, "Old prejudice hasn't died, new energy drives it on." And that sort of was the theme of a lot of that song is, we've sort of still maintained a world that's kind of screwed up. So they talk about love. There's always a lot of love songs to me on Proclaimers albums. The one that stands out to me here is You Make Me Happy.
When it comes to love, you always love the most. With every day, I've reason to see that you make me happy.
They say, years come and go, and I love you so, you make me happy. Now that could be a trite, cliche kind of lyric on a lot of albums, but for me it works with these guys.
I don't know. It sounds, rather like old school Beach Boys-esque.
Yeah.
Like
It's
I
sort
can
of
see.
like, I haven't had enough of silly love songs. So,
Okay, yeah.
so I can put up with I love you so, you make me happy as
Okay.
a song lyric, yeah. But yeah, it's sort of that innocence and sweetness of the Beach Boys. I could see that.
I say from me to you, I will make your dreams come true.
Lyrically, they're older, they're wiser, they're looking back on the past a lot. It comes out through several different songs. The Streets of Edinburgh is like a single. I know I saw like a music video for it. That's got a lot of love for the city of Edinburgh, which is tied in to their past. They say, "The people I have loved most among these stones did dwell." Kind of a cool little lyric.
Yeah, it is cool. I don't know. It's a little bit heavy-handed for me, but
Yeah. So
I
that
do
song
like it.
is kind of reserved, sort of a ballad, soft, sort of
Yeah.
introspective kind of song, I guess.
The past they pass the streets of Edinburgh, hold half the world for me.
There's a lot of mortality and the value of life kind of issues that come up through the album. We're only here for a short while is one of the lyrics that jumped out at me. The thing to do just for its own sake is to build a world that's much less rotten, 'cause in good time we're all forgotten.
Wow. It rhymes.
Yeah, it does.
So the thing to do, just for its own sake, is to build a world that's much less rotten, 'cause in good time we're all forgotten.
Why did you choose to include that line specifically?
Because I think as they are getting older, they are realizing that they have a limited amount of time on this earth, and I can certainly relate to that at 45 and counting.
Right. I think I've been thinking about that since I was like 16.
Yeah.
So.
There was a song that stood out to me at the very end. It's called I'd Ask the Questions. And they're like, you know, if you were still here, then we could have this thing that we used to do where we ask a lot of questions about things. And some of the questions that are mentioned are kind of absurd and silly and fun. And then you get to the chorus and it's like, if you were here still, we could do this.
Really?
And so it's like, dang, like I thought this was just a silly song, and now you're like, well, there was this person that I was silly with, and now they're not here anymore.
Right.
So
How do you stand on your head and drink beer? I'd ask you questions if you were still here.
yeah, that was intense.
Well, they might be wanting to hold on to that. Like, so often when someone dies, the idea is you have to make it serious about that person. Like,
Right.
It's interesting that they chose that avenue to say, oh, well, I remember this aspect of them, and I want to hold on to that part
Yeah.
of who they are. You know, I like
Yeah.
that. Which track did you?
So
Specifically, like,
my favorite was Then It Comes to Me.
I don't want the rage that I felt in that era, but then it comes, then it comes, then it comes to me.
So I like the driving beat. I like the harmonies between the brothers, which I would say that on every song. But in that particular case, super catchy, a nice, moving sort of beat. The tempo is cool. Yeah, that was. Then It Comes to Me is probably my favorite one.
You know, with that song, for me at least, I felt like it was a familiar, like all the great songs. It feels like there's some familiarity with it.
Okay.
You know, like I'd never heard that song before, but for some reason I was like, I could see myself listening to this song, and I kind of already know where it's coming from a little bit, even though I've never heard it. Like,
Nice.
there's something just in it. I was just like,
Yeah.
immediately attracted to that kind of thing.
Sure. There's a song called Stretch that's pretty cool. I liked kind of the groove that they get going on that.
Wake into an early summer dawn, I lie in bed and dream the day away.
How did you feel upon listening to New Proclaimers material?
Yeah, I didn't know what to expect, because honestly, I'm just going to be real here. I haven't really kept up with them. I didn't look into them. 500 Miles has been the most part of what I know about the Proclaimers. So when you included this in this section, I was just like, this is a brand new music to me, so I didn't really have any expectations either way. I didn't know what I was going into. So the very, very first thing that I thought about it, though, was exactly what you're saying, the hookiness and the catchiness of it. Like, the earworms are, you can't deny them. It's just like, you can't help it tapping your feet but snapping your fingers.
Yeah. And even if for them this is a formula, like if it's similar to previous albums,
Yeah.
neither of us would really know that.
Right,
So,
yeah. I'm
if
not
they've
familiar
worked
enough.
their way into a formula, it's a good formula and it works.
Yeah.
So yeah, we take turns picking the album that we cover on here. So yeah, this was one of my picks because I love their sound and I wanted to hear what they've been doing lately. It's solid for me. I think they're still playing and writing songs with a confidence about them. Any other thoughts on this one?
No, I mean, like we said, this was your thing, so I do love it though. Like I have to. It wasn't just like I was like, oh, Tim likes the Proclaimers. That's interesting because I knew 500 miles, but besides that, I had no much. But after listening to it, I don't really have much to add other than I would continue to be open-minded about listening to the Proclaimers.
We'll see you guys next time when we talk about Pink Floyd and
Peace.
Roger Waters. See you next time.
What have you done for me lately?